for joining me for this modern matte look. In this Get Ready With Me, I'll be talking you through how I do a matte, but not just a matte look, a modern matte look. It's on the radar for trends for 2024. I don't follow trends, but when I read this article, I thought this is how I do my makeup anyway. And if you're interested in this, especially if you have texture up here, and this is great also for more mature skin types because typically there is more texture in the front. And this is not actually anything new. It's been something I've been doing for a long time. I kind of discovered this technique again out of necessity and have identified some really lovely products to achieve this look. So these are tried and true products, and these particular products and techniques really accomplish that matte yet luminous, very healthy looking finish. It's about blurring not only discoloration but also texture of the skin and getting more of an airbrushed finish. All of this while still looking really natural and really beautiful. So let's go ahead and get started. I've just completed skincare, and this is actually the skincare favorites video that I am filming after this. No, I just filmed that before this. And for me, it's so critical to get my skin in the best condition possible because it eliminates the amount of makeup I need to apply, and it's also less time consuming to apply makeup when the skin is as good as I can get it. I know many of you appreciate that I don't really introduce that many new products. I use the same items over and over again. So I thought I would go into what I have, but also try two different lines with this technique because I know many of you love Chanel and many of you love Chantecaille and many of you love both like me. So we're going to go in with a light layer of cream first in the oil-free foundation, Future Skin. And let's do that on the left side here. I do have a primer on as well. It's the SPF Primer by Chantecaille. I'm trying to find it. Oh, this one right here. This is what I have on for primer. So you can see it doesn't leave a white cast at all. If you are concerned about any white cast, this is the one I recommend. So I'm just putting the lightest layer. As you can see, with great skincare, it just really glides on so nicely. And I would have used my Shiseido brush, but I just cleaned all my brushes and they are not totally dry yet. So that's why we are not going in with those brushes today. We are gonna go in with something lightweight on the other side. Now, I was thinking about what could I use from Chanel that was going to give me like a dewier finish. I know this is matte, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. A dewier or healthy finish on the exterior, and I have a few options. I was thinking of the #1 de Chanel because that's more glowy on me. The Sublimage L'Essence de Tint also more glowy on me, but I thought this might be an interesting one because I think this might work for more people. I think this might be a little less skin type dependent in terms of its finish. So this is the Waterfresh tint. I have it in medium plus and medium. Oh, actually, this is medium because I'm going to go in, I want to try and keep these shades more close together because medium deep has a little bit more color. But this is going to give a nice dry down, but still have a glow about it. So that's why I thought, let's try this one for the Chanel. But I think those other ones are a nice option if you have them. And I know many of you have so many Chanel foundations. When I did the rundown of all the Chanel foundations, which I have tried, if you haven't seen it, I'll link it below. You'll see what the finishes look like on me based on my skin type, which is more combo. Like I said, it has a nice dry down, but also a really lovely glow without feeling sticky. So if you want to look at a little bit of glow, but not the feeling that can go along with that, like a slipperiness or like a stickiness almost, this one dries down beautifully. Actually, both of these do. The Chanel side, the Chantecaille side. Now, here's where the matte part comes into play because these both will set themselves, these foundations. So I'm going to go in with a Chantecaille foundation here in Nude. So I love this one. So this is a great combination if you want to go more matte in the center. What I was reading about this was kind of funny. So the article I read was actually, let me look, and it came across and I looked up a couple of other articles that talked about it. Matte makeup is coming back in a big way in 2024, but not how you remember it. So they're talking about just mattifying in the middle, which is one of those things that I'm gonna say nothing new here because I've been doing this for as long as I can remember and not out of trend, but out of necessity. So one of the things that I do in the front here, and you're gonna see it with a powder, which I think is gonna be the best powder for this technique, is to minimize any pores in the front, which I have. I have pores in the front. And I also like to keep the exterior glowy, which is what this article talks about. In fact, what does it say? Matte but luminous, also but not shiny. I like that blend in general, but we're gonna target the matte and the glow in specific places. So not an overall layer of matte, radiant matte, which is actually a nice formula for foundation that I really like, but we're gonna be putting matte in some places and more glow on other places. So just going in with this Future Skin in Nude, and you can see what lovely coverage you get with such a thin layer. It's got to dry down here in a minute, so let's give it a moment. And this does adapt really well to skin tone. So the stretch in each range of this Chantecaille is really great. So it will cover several different shades because there are only a handful of shades in this Future Skin cushion if you're not familiar. But just talk about matte in the center and radiant on the exterior, this article. So that's what we're doing today. Perfect for the red carpet, it says, as well as every day, which is what I pretty much do every day. Maybe not this perfected, but this idea is what I go with every day. So just going in here with that Future Skin. And that was my powder, which is gonna be key to this look. And oh, it didn't break. It did not break. So this powder, I'm shocked it didn't break, but it didn't break. We're gonna talk about the powder, which I think is one of the essential parts here. Let's go in with a Chanel More Matte foundation in the center, which is also similar. Actually, these remind me of each other. So they're both quite lightweight. They have a nice perfecting on the skin. I mean, I think it looks really pretty now, but I just wanna perfect it a little bit more. So we've got here the Ultra Le Temps by Chanel. So this is in BD41. It's gonna be a little bit more warm than what I have on here in Nude, but I'm just taking the tiniest bit here. You can see there how warm it is. We're gonna apply that to the center. Again, I just wanna give you options because I know many of you have these products. So we're gonna take a little bit and just apply it to the center here. And that way you can see a side by side as well if you're interested. But I tried to make this part also matte, like my eyebrow area, which can get a little bit shiny right here above the eyebrows. So it's just the idea that anything more matte is going to absorb the light versus reflect. Anything that's going to reflect the light will have the potential to emphasize texture, which is why I like to mattify the front here. Also, that is why I avoid things like highlighter, because that really can bring about texture. And anything too sparkly or too glowy in the center of the face I will avoid unless it's really finely milled. I don't recall if I've tried these side by side before, but there's a little bit more of a smoothing effect here with the Chantecaille versus the Chanel. Let's go ahead with under eye concealer, the Chanel under eye concealer in 40, and we're gonna go ahead with this Sephora number 71 concealer brush. Really, I'm gonna try my best to call out these brushes this year because I'm really not good about that. And I can't remember myself when I'm watching the video which one I actually use. We're gonna apply this under the eye. Okay, now let's perfect even more. And I have the Clé de Peau concealer here. Now you can build this up, the Chantecaille, if you would like to. This definitely is more matte though, the Clé de Peau concealer versus this Chantecaille Future Skin cushion. So if you're looking for some coverage, things that are not going to emphasize texture, which is why I like this one for the front. It's not totally matte, it just is more matte than say a more liquidy concealer. That will help absorb the light and also not emphasize texture in the front. This is a Sephora number 57 brush. Now we're ready for the matte part of this. So let's go ahead and take this in light medium. So you can see here the difference. If you don't want to powder, that this foundation here, the Ultra Le Temps, does dry down really nicely. This one still has a bit of glow to it. I'm gonna take this and you're gonna see the power of this powder. Oh, there's another powder too in case you really wanna go in. Actually, let me do that first. We're gonna put this powder on in the center here. This is Jones Road Beauty. If you're more oily and you want a powder that's going to really perform well, this is Jones Road Beauty in the shade Light. It has a bit of peachiness to it as well. I'm gonna add that to the center first, and then I'll show you what it looks like layered as well as by itself. Okay, so there's the Jones Road Beauty. Now I'm gonna show you Perfect Blur Powder by Chantecaille. On camera, off camera, I just love it so much. It not only blurs the texture of the skin, It looks smoother because it absorbs that light. It also helps to further blur discoloration for me because of the tone. It's got this warmth to it, which does that. So here we are with just the Perfect Blur powder on top here. And we got the Jones Road Beauty. Now I'm going to go in with the Perfect Blur powder on top as well. So if you want to really seal everything in, you can do this and get the same effect, but just a little bit more heavy duty powdering. I mean, it's not heavy, but it's got some really great staying power. I focused more of the serious foundations in the center here as well as the powder. I have not powdered the exterior at all at this point. So I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna finish this up kind of to balance everything out. So we're gonna go with brows. I'm gonna do more of a natural brow. One of the things that reminds me of matte makeup when I saw it the first time is that everything else is heavy. So I'm gonna go in and just kind of lighten up the brows a little bit. We're gonna go in with the Jones Road in light brunette, and we're going to build up the brow. This has some great hold. It builds it up nicely without being really, really intense, which I like. If I wanna really intensify and perfect the brows, I'll go in with something like the Chanel Brow Duo first, the powder, but we're just gonna do this so you can see how fast that is, but still really natural. So I think that goes along with that radiance on the exterior. I wanna kind of blend more perfected in the center and that glow on the exterior. Going with the Baby Blade by Victoria Beckham, I'm going to fill in any of the places where it just needs a little bit more filling in, and then we're gonna bronze here because I can see my forehead needs a little help. So just right up here in front, and you can see how nicely, this is a newer one too. The newer one does a better job of being able to draw in individual hairs in a really precise and delicate way that blends really nicely with the rest of the brow. A softer look. We got this bronzer here, 392 by Chanel 5 REPHR brush. So I'm going in with this because I don't want to powder on the exterior. I just want to keep that radiance there. Yeah, just something really subtle. I pulled out this one, the medium Le Beige. I just wanted something soft, something kind of natural looking. Let's go in with this lightest shade all over the lid. I have a number 2 REPHR. Then let's go in with this shade right here in the crease. I have a number 15 REPHR. Taking a number 13 REPHR, I'm going to take this shade right here and place that in the corner. Into the crease a little bit. Then we're going to take this deepest shade here and add that, I'm going to use the same brush, add that to the outermost corner. Most outer corner? The furthest out. Take that number 15 again and just blend everything. Take a bit of this right here and just add that to the center. Too much? A little bit of glow. A little bit more of that darker color. I have a teeny tiny number 29 REPHR. I'm going to take this deepest shade here and I'm going to just make that into an eyeliner. I'm going to add some Faux Longest Lash Mascara and then we'll move on and finish up. Okay, let's go ahead with a little bit of Clé de Peau in the corners as always, just to clean up the exterior of the eye. I like this shade for something really natural, and it was my favorite blush of the year last year. It's the Valentino number 9. So we're gonna add that first. This is not a matte blush, but it's also not super luminous either. It's kind of right in between there, which is why I love this so much. I love the shade, really natural, really subtle, but also a really natural finish. It's a skin flattering, skin loving kind of blush, just makes the skin look better. That's why I continue to love this. So we'll be measuring blushes against this one this year to see if I find anything that I think exceeds this. And I like to also go all the way up to the front here just to get the color more cohesive, especially if you have that issue in the front like I do with texture, which is why I go more matte in the center, exactly for those reasons. So not completely flat matte in the front, and add just a little bit more glow to the exterior with blush. So instead of picking something that's going to have shimmer in it, I'm gonna pick something that has more of a glowy texture to it. So this is Chouchette by Westman Atelier. I'm gonna take a bit of this. Well, let's use this brush again. This is the Rowan. Let's see if I didn't have too much powder in there. I think I'm okay. And then I'm just gonna apply it to the side point of my cheek. So we have more of a radiant matte here and then more of a glow on the exterior. So it really is all in the very fine details and just placement of where I want the matte versus the glow. So more glow on the exterior, more matte towards the center, but not totally flat matte either. Same thing with the eyes. We have a very subtle finish to this. Nothing glittery, nothing shimmery, but also not totally flat either. The trick is gonna be the lip. Okay, see, now I went overboard with blush. The trick is gonna be the lip. So let me go figure out a lip and then let's get those fine details going on the eyes as well. I'm not going to do a totally matte lip, but I went to go find a matte lip that I actually am comfortable wearing because I don't love matte lips on me. I just don't love the way they feel or look. But this one's really nice. So this is by Lisa Eldridge. It's Velvet Muse. And this is a lovely shade. I'm gonna layer it here. So let's go in with Velvet Muse first. So that really just adds just a slight amount of color to my lips here. Really comfortable. So if you like this look but want comfortable feeling lipstick and really pretty looking, then Velvet Muse is a beautiful shade by Lisa Eldridge. And then we're gonna go in with just a little bit of radiance. And I'm gonna go with one of my favorite lips of the year last year, which was Bourbon Rose by Chantecaille. So we're gonna add a little bit of that more towards the center. Okay, I'm gonna clean up the eye area here and just add a little bit of trench under the eye because I like to brighten. Also, it smooths out that area under the eye for me where I can get a little bit of gathering of concealer, even if my concealer is great everywhere else in my face, it will just gather there. So this helps to smooth that out. It's a bit of a drier consistency, this eyeshadow stick. And then we're gonna go in with a little bit of, since there was no La Prairie, we're gonna go in with the Chantecaille Le Camouflage Sealer right here in the darkest area. Okay, and then let's go ahead and mattify just a little bit more so I can always add that powder on, the Perfect Blur powder, on top of blush as well. So if I've gone overboard, which I do often, I'll just go in like this, go around, and then I'll just soften a little bit. And then let's go ahead in with the Marble by Victoria Beckham, right along the nose, slight contour. So here's the finished look. I did just add the modular part of the earrings back on there. If you have been here, you will have seen all of these in play almost every single time I do my makeup. If I do leave it glowy in the center, it does have more of a shiny appearance to my skin. And you can see with every little reflective property, whether it's because of the composition and texture of the actual product, or if it's because there are reflective particles in it, you can always see that I have some enlarged pores here. Again, anything that has a reflective property to it has the potential to bring out texture. So that's why I mattify in the center, but still really want a natural glow. I hope you're able to see where I placed more matte products, where I was able to keep the glow on the exterior, where I didn't even powder on the exterior, and how it's not completely flat matte either. So you have a nice blurred appearance to the skin. And I do believe that skincare really plays a big part in this, even though we didn't talk about skincare here, except for the fact that if I can get my skin in prime condition as good as I can get it, then I require less makeup and it's less visible as well. Let me know what you think of these techniques, if you have any other ideas or any ways that you accomplish this, if this is a look you like, or do you like it more glowy in the center? But this really is how I've been doing my makeup for several years years now, especially with the earlier issues I had with dark spots in the center. I really had to go in and conceal. Don't have to do that as much anymore. And it's because I did have that discoloration where I did need to conceal quite heavily that led me down this path. I didn't want to cover up my skin completely because I knew the rest of my skin actually was in really nice condition. So I wanted to let that show through and really spot conceal and do a little bit of blurring in the front of the face only. And thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be trying to include more techniques, more explicit techniques that I can share with you this year using products I already love. So we had nothing new here today, just revisiting some products I love and different ways to use them. So I hope it helps you maximize the makeup that you already have, because I know many of you are not buying a lot of new makeup, which I think is so wise. Just use what you have and get the most out of it while you do have it. I really appreciate that. And if I didn't have a channel, I would not be buying more makeup, but of course I will be featuring new makeup that is interesting to not just me, but also to you. So let me know what you'd like to see in future videos. But that is it for today's video. So please take care of each other. Stay well if you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.